I'm Dilrukshi Kumble from the Department of Agriculture, Food and Nutritional Science. And first, let me lay a good foundation for my research project. At present, actually, soybean is mainly grown in Ontario, Manitoba, Quebec, Saskatchewan, Maritimes, and some parts of southern Alberta. But with this huge climatic change scenario, there's a huge potential to expand soybean cultivation in Alberta, including the northern Alberta. So I hope my research project will be really important for the soybean breeders to produce more short season soybean varieties that can have more nitrogen fixation even under drought stress with a greater yield. So with that, I'll move on to my presentation today. Evaluation of drought resistance in early maturity Canadian soybeans to increase food production with the climatic change. Here is my overview. First, I'll give you a brief introduction on soybean, what is symbiotic nitrogen fixation, and what is drought stress, and with that, my research hypothesis, methods, results, and finally, I'll wrap up my presentation with my conclusions. Soybean. Soybean was originated and domesticated in East Asia, basically in China 6,000 to 9,000 years ago. And later on, it was introduced to North America in 1765. The main use of soybean is as a livestock feed, aqua feed, and as a vegetable oil. Also, it is a rich source of plant-based protein in human diet, especially in developing countries. And the top 7 soybean producing countries are Brazil, USA, Argentina, China, Paraguay, India, and Canada. What is nitrogen fixation? Most of the plants cannot acquire atmospheric nitrogen, but legumes such as soybean has the ability to fix atmospheric nitrogen with the symbiosis of Rhizobia bacteria that reside in the root nodules. Here is a simple illustration of nitrogen fixation. Here's the host plant and here's the cross-section of a nodule. And you can see millions of Rhizobia bacteria that reside in this cross-section. And this cross-section is pink due to the like hemoglobin concentration. Let me explain you this mechanism simply. Rhizobia bacteria that reside in the root nodules acquire atmospheric nitrogen from air and then convert it to ammonia and provide it to the host plant. And in return, host plant provides photosynthesis products for the rhizobium metabolism. This is the simple mechanism of nitrogen fixation. Here I have mentioned the annual nitrogen fixation of top 3 soybean producing countries, Brazil, USA, and Argentina. Actually, this is nitrogen fixation is a key mechanism in sustainable agriculture. It is predicted that drought stress will be a huge climatic problem in near future. In terms of Canada, when you look at these 3 maps, you can clearly see that dark brown area or else very dry soil area is increasing over the time. According to the latest studies, actually this will be a huge problem for Western Canada or as Canadian prairies as it is the hub of legumes or the protein basket of Canada. Drought stress results poor plant establishment, growth and yield reduction, poor grain quality, low nitrogen fixation due to low nodulation and low nitrogenous activity, and also drought-induced low symbiotic nitrogen fixation in nodules by 3 mechanisms: oxygen limitation in nodules, carbon shortage, and by feedback inhibition of nitrogen fixation. With this research background, I developed my research hypothesis as there is an allelic variation associated with drought tolerance in short-season Canadian soybean varieties. My research actually comprised 2 components, genotyping and phenotyping. For the phenotypic analysis, I conducted a greenhouse experiment. The seeds were surface sterilized and then transferred into pots, 3 seeds per pot, and at the initial stage supplied enough water with nitrogen-free Hoagland's nutrient solution. And after 1 week, extra plants were removed, leaving 1 plant per pot and inoculated with Bradyrhizobium japonicum. and 15 unlabeling was done in order to measure the symbiotic nitrogen fixation using the isotope dilution technique. And after 3 weeks, drought was induced, and there were two treatments: 80% field capacity well water treatment and 30% field capacity drought induced treatment. Then after 7 weeks, leaf chlorophyll content was measured using SPAD meter, and photosynthesis, stomatal conductance, and transpiration data were collected using LECO 6400 photosynthesis system. Then during the harvesting stage, yield parameters were collected, such as number of pods per plant, number of seeds per pod, and 100 seed weight, and grain yield. In order to measure the percentage of nitrogen derived from atmosphere, seed drying will be performed, actually in 60 Celsius for 3 days, and then grinding using Wiley mill grinder and homogenizer, and the isotope dilution technique will be performed. What is isotope dilution technique? The theory behind this technique is both the fixing plant and the non-fixing plant has the access to the N50 in the soil. But since the fixing plant has the access to atmospheric nitrogen, this 15N gets diluted. By using this technique, percentage of nitrogen derived from atmosphere will be calculated using this formula, and in here, non-nodulating maple presto will be used as the reference. And by using this technique, I'll be analyzed for grain nitrogen concentration and grain 15N concentration. In order to make this greenhouse process easier, I developed an Arduino-based irrigation system. In this system, simply you have to put your pot on this blue basket and simply feed your pot number onto the screen, where it will automatically measure your initial pot weight and add water up to our required level while saving the data into the university cloud. This was actually portable and very easy to handle throughout my greenhouse trial. As the last step of my research, I will have to perform a genome-wide association study. There I will be using different models such as mixed linear model and general linear model using Microsoft OpenR, and their population metrics and kinship metrics will be measured and used as the covariates. Let's move on to my preliminary results. First, leaf chlorophyll content data. In this experiment, I observed a significant soil moisture effect on leaf chlorophyll content. Actually, the 30% field capacity treatment had more leaf chlorophyll content with compared to the 80% field capacity. Interestingly, it means that nitrogen accumulated in leaves under drought compared to the well water treatments. This actually aligned with previous literature. And if I go back into more detail, this is one of the feedback mechanisms that inhibit nitrogen fixation during drought. And we observe the same trend here as well. In this Wiley plot, you can clearly see how the data point distribution and the density of my data set. In this figure, this x-axis represents 70 soybean varieties are used in this trial, and SPAD meter data, or as the leaf chlorophyll content data. And when you look at this figure, you can clearly see that there was a significant genotypic variability among soybean varieties for leaf chlorophyll content. Let me explain you the theory behind leaf chlorophyll content and nitrogen. Nitrogen is the main component of leaf chlorophyll content, and by using SPAD meter, we are measuring the leaf chlorophyll content. So it gives a great idea about the nitrogen accumulation in leaf. Next, we move on to the stomatal conductance data. What is stomatal conductance? Stomatal conductance is the measure of the rate of passage CO2 entering or water vapor exceeding through the stomata of a leaf. In this experiment, we observed a significant soil moisture effect on leaf stomatal conductance. Stomatal conductance was significantly low under drought, or else 30% field capacity with compared to the well-watered treatment or else the 80% field capacity treatment. In this figure, x-axis represents the 70 soybean varieties and y-axis represents the stomatal conductance data. And when you look at this figure, you can clearly observe a genotypic variability among soybean varieties for leaf stomatal conductance. Next, we move on to the photosynthesis data. In this experiment, the level of soil moisture had no significant effect on leaf photosynthesis. And the leaf photosynthesis was similar between the well-watered and drought treatments. But we still believe there is a significant impact during the seed filling stage. In this figure, x-axis represents 70 soybean varieties, where y-axis represents the leaf photosynthesis data. And when you look at this figure, you can clearly observe that there's a genotypic variability among soybean varieties for leaf photosynthesis as well. Let's move on to my harvesting data. First, number of pods. And here we observed a significant soil moisture effect on number of pods per plant. Actually, the number of pods in 80% field capacity was higher with compared to the 30% field capacity. So drought significantly reduced the number of pods per plant compared to the well-watered treatment. In this figure, x-axis represents 70 soybean varieties, where y-axis represents number of pods per plant. And you can clearly see that there's a significant genotypic variability among soybean varieties for number of pods per plant as well. So with these results, I can conclude that there was a genotypic variability among soybean cultivars for leaf chlorophyll content, stomatal conductance, and leaf photosynthesis at flowering stage, and number of pods per plant at harvesting stage, and also nitrogen accumulated in soybean leaves under drought stress, and drought reduced the stomatal conductance at flowering stage, and drought reduced the number of pods per plant at the harvesting stage as well. And I would like to say, with this huge climatic change and with this rapid increase in the population, you won't starve in protein if you go with this soybean. And finally, I would like to acknowledge my supervisor, Dr. Malinda Tilapratna, Dr. Linka Gurim, Dr. Gavin Chen, Dr. Daud Turkman from University of Guelph, and Dr. Francois Belsail from Laval University for their enormous guidance throughout my research. And for University of Alberta and for NSERC for their great funding towards my research to make this successful. And finally, I would like to thank you. Thank you very much for your kind attention.